In this video, I'm making LEGO mechs for these X-Men minifigures from the LEGO X Mansion set. I want to make the first mech for Professor X because, let's be honest, if he's gonna fight, he needs something better than his chair. So, I started with his cockpit. I used this curved piece as the base and even made sure to add a little yellow to match his chair. To keep him safe, I clipped on this bar so he wouldn't fall out. But he still needs a way to control the mech, and since his powers come from his mind, I gave him this helmet and added these tubes going into his head, which were mostly inspired by Cerebro. Using these LEGO Technic ball joint pieces, I was able to add some nice shoulders, and they happened to add even more posability. I got pretty lucky with his hands because I had these LEGO Bionicle fist pieces, which made him look like he was ready to fight. His legs are pretty simple because I kept them fixed, but I was able to add knee pads by using these LEGO stud pieces with a bar coming out of it. I was even able to add these LEGO blaster pieces for his ankles, which added a nice angle to his legs. This mech isn't too special, but I'm still very happy with how it turned out. Keeping the yellow from the chair was definitely the right move. Also, the nod to Cerebro is probably one of my favorite parts of this mech. But we really need some firepower, so I think it's time we build Cyclops a mech. This time I started with his legs. I had to keep them fixed because unlike the last mech, I wanted this one to be more chunky. I added these big slope pieces to add more shape and put more around his legs to beef him up. Probably one of my favorite parts was making the knee pads. I used this LEGO floaty piece and small dish piece to make the best shape and had to add some more parts so I can attach them to the mech. Since the mech is going to be more chunky, I thought that adding these sharp LEGO pieces was a good way to make the mech look more intimidating, which finishes off the legs. For his torso, I was lucky enough to fit in his belt using these macaroni pieces and cover up this angle I made to make him hunch over. But the most important thing for me was getting his chest right. Using this LEGO Technic connection, I was able to give his chest a slight angle. And I even stole this LEGO X tile from the LEGO Wolverine mech to add more detail to his chest. To keep his arms sturdy, I used this LEGO Technic ball piece so I could attach the LEGO Bionicle joints. I had to make sure I covered that up, so I built these shoulder pads and clipped them on. I didn't want to keep the gray on his arms exposed, so I used these snot pieces to cover it up with blue plates. To finish him off, I added these small posable hands, which I think look pretty good. Compared to the last mech, I think that this one is already a huge level up. I think that I did a great job making the mech look more like a tank, and I'm very happy with how it tapers because of the chest. I know a lot of people are expecting a LEGO Wolverine mech, but like I mentioned before, LEGO already made one, and I think it's pretty good. It's small, but it has a nice color scheme, using this yellowish-orange color. They were even able to add these nice shoulder pads, and I think that they match the character very well. And of course, they made sure to add the claws by using these big LEGO sword pieces. Not to mention, it's very posable, unlike the mechs I made. For our next mech, I chose a character that I think is pretty underrated, Bishop. I mean, he had a pretty big part in the show, and I like him a lot. For his mech, I decided to take a different approach. I wanted it to look more like a mech from the Titanfall series. I thought that this glass piece was the perfect way to start because it matched pretty well with the mechs from the game. Of course, I covered him up from the sides by using snot pieces, so he'd be safe. In the game, they also show guns on the mech's shoulders, so I added those by using these wheel parts with a purple stud in the middle. I didn't want his arms to be too big to match the game, so I didn't use that many snot techniques for them, but I made sure to add details on them by using different curve pieces. For his hands, I ended up using these clip pieces, which will make sense later. Going down to his legs, I found these cool clicky hinge pieces, and I thought that they would be perfect for his knees. Of course, I had to cover it up with a lot of snot pieces, but I think it came out pretty well. I even added this yellow stripe on one of his legs to match the minifigure. The feet were pretty simple, but I do like how I made them fade from the back. Now I couldn't forget about one of the most important things for him, which was a giant gun. This thing was very fun to build, especially the handle, using a lot of tiny pieces. To show his powers, I added this pink glow to the gun too. If I'm being honest, this mech is probably my favorite. I just love how different it looks from the others, and I think I did a pretty good job on making it look like it was from the Titanfall series. Plus, the gun looks pretty awesome. The next character was Gambit, who's probably also one of my favorite X-Men. Following the theme of making the mechs look a little different, I wanted to make this mech look like a Gundam mech, so I started by making him this cool tiny head by using this snot brick, which we can set to the side for now. For his torso, I wanted it to open up from the back, which was pretty easy to do by using these hinge pieces. For the front, I had to make sure I kept the magenta color from his minifigure. I did this by using these cool smooth pieces, which added this awesome pattern to it. I used the same angle technique for my Cyclops mech to add more shape, and I think it came out pretty good. To build up his sides, I used these curved pieces, and even made sure that I could add a connection for his arms. I found these cool hinge pieces from the LEGO New Guardian ship set, which were the perfect color, and I thought they would look great for his shoulders. Most Gundam sets have pretty thin arms, so I didn't make them too bulky, only adding slight detail and keeping his hands small. I found some more of these clicky hinge pieces, and used them for his legs because his top was pretty heavy. I couldn't add any knees for his legs either because then he wouldn't be able to stand up, so they were fixed, but I used a lot of snot pieces. I really like how I was able to use this tile piece with the hole in it to add this 1x1 plate on upside down. His feet were simple, being made mostly out of slope pieces. To finish him off, all that was left to do was add his head, but I couldn't forget to give him a giant card to throw around. I do really like how this mech looks, but I wish I could use a dark tan color instead of the regular tan. I just didn't have enough pieces in that color. I definitely would love to give this mech another try, especially because it was really fun making it, but I do think it came out pretty good. Now, I couldn't make an X-Men video without including Magneto, so it's finally time I made him a mech. I found these cool Lego feet pieces from an old Lego Hero Factory set that I really wanted to use, so I clipped them onto a ball joint piece. For his legs, I kinda just built around the joint piece and went upwards, using these purple barrel pieces for his knees and these gray studs as bolts. For his cockpit, I found this cool gunmetal gray piece that I thought would look awesome. I mostly just played around until I was able to get the piece on in a way that looked nice, which was definitely worth it. I had a pretty cool idea for one of his arms, but we'll talk more about that later. For his right arm, I used this cool piece from the same Hero Factory set as his shoulder. I also used these cylinder pieces from the same set, and they look great for his arms. I made sure to keep his hand purple to match the color scheme, using these barrel pieces for his fingers. For his other arm, I wanted to make it look like it was covered in scraps of metal. To start, I used this bionicle piece for his shoulder, which had a pretty cool shape. For the rest of his hand, I just threw in a bunch of random gray and silver pieces, and I think I got the look down pretty well. My favorite part was using this chain piece and this Lego bionicle skull as his weapon, which finishes off his mech. I really like how this mech turned out. The metal arm was a great idea, and really makes the mech stick out from the others. Anyways, that's all the mech's done. Comment which one was your favorite and what I should make next. I'll see you in the next video. Subscribe.